night as I peer into the dark and endless winter sky. I listen to the rain and I recall my youth. A dream, a dream. Was it merely a dream? This age of innocence, this time of truth, of fleeting passion, of worlds anew. And now, in the winter of my days, I sit and contemplate on things to come and things to be. As seasons and draws near to me. Hey-ho! The snow has almost gone. No more I'll sing my winter song. The time has passed. My heart beats fast. My soul takes wing. Tomorrow,
Hello. My research titled A Teacher Resource Guide to Latinx Composers and Contexts, Incorporating Comprehensive Musicianship Through Performance Unit Plans and Culturally Relevant Pedagogy investigates the significance of culturally relevant pedagogy as it pertains to Latinx students and how to justify the academic need for culturally relevant music curriculum to education administrators. This resource guide is written for secondary music educators, providing a socio-historical, musical, and pedagogical analysis of 4 pieces with analysis template inspired by Patricia O'Toole's text, Shaping Sound Musicians, an innovative approach to teaching comprehensive musicianship through performance, or CMP unit plans. The socio-historical analysis will include the origins for each piece. The musical analysis will include in-depth analyses of the elements of music for each piece, such as rhythm, melody, harmony, timbre, form, texture, dynamics, and expression. The pedagogical analysis consists of unit plans filled with learning outcomes, suggested summative assessments, and teaching strategies for each piece. This educator resource guide addresses and emphasizes the Latinx experience through a social justice lens, providing teachers and students with opportunity for focused critical thinking that builds their effective connection to culturally relevant repertoire that will also meet the need of students to build musicianship in the choral classroom. It is my hope that this resource guide is a call to action for music educators to uplift students' identities and embrace racial and ethnic diversity. This should create a sense of urgency for educators and administrators alike, for there to be a wide development of cultural competence and critical consciousness to further evolve academic motivation among students of color. As stated in my rationale, this research investigates the significance of culturally relevant pedagogy as it pertains to Latinx contexts and how to justify the academic need for culturally relevant music curriculum to education administrators. My research questions while creating this resource guide are: 1. Are there resources for choral classrooms about Latinx music? 2. What Latinx pieces with a lens of social justice are available to the secondary choral classroom? And 3. What is the significance of culturally relevant pedagogy? The following pieces were analyzed for this teacher resource guide. 1. No Nos Moverán, transcribed by the 2017 Justice Choir and found in the Social Justice Choir Songbook. 2. De Colores, arranged by Sonia Borman. 3. El Pueblo Unido, by Sergio Ortega and arranged by Jean Glickman. And 4. Ayúdame, by Carlos Cordero. As stated in the background, these 4 pieces have been analyzed through a socio-historical, musical, and pedagogical lens, using the Shaping Sound Musicians CMP unit plans. The pieces were assigned a difficulty level based on the rubric provided by the text, Teaching Music Through Performance in Choir, Volume 1, by Buchanan and McAfee. These pieces were chosen because they serve as a vehicle for culturally relevant pedagogy, provide narrative insight to the inequities experienced in Latin America, culturally validate the Latinx experience, and will create conversations of social justice within the music classroom. Culturally relevant pedagogy echoes the significance of cultivating a sense of community through student-centered strategies, putting cultural identity and diversity at the forefront of their education, and the philosophy that each student is successful in their own right. This framework of culturally relevant teaching was developed utilizing previous structures constructed in Gloria Ladson Billings' text, The Dream Keepers, and Zaretta Hammond's Ready for Rigor framework in the text, Culturally Responsive Teaching and the Brain. We must use a plethora of student-centered strategies to cultivate a learning community in the music classroom. It is crucial for educators to keep the learning space positive and inquisitive to allow for critical thinking. Referring to Hammond's Ready for Rigor framework, Hammond adapts to a collectivistic cultural archetype, which is emphasized in the 4th practice area, community of learners and learning environment. Ladson Billings echoes this sentiment, stating, encouraging a community of learners means helping the students work against the norm of competitive individualism. We are able to do this by having students be responsible for their own learning and implementing a learning community within the classroom. Culturally relevant teaching views students of color through an asset-based lens by recognizing cultural contributions and utilizing current events and trends to create connections to the educational goals in the classroom. Hammond implores educators to connect new content to culturally relevant examples and metaphors from students' communities and everyday life. Tapping into culture will allow students to feel empowered to challenge themselves in higher-level thinking through Bloom's taxonomy. Finally, teachers must be able to create a positive sense of urgency in students that they are able to be successful, that they already possess knowledge, and continue to develop their knowledge. We must challenge our students to critically think about the world around them through analysis and evaluation, and view their education as a way of future liberation. Which brings me to my CMP unit plans. But first, my water. There it is. Okay. Ahmed Ansodullah, co-editor of the Social Justice Songbook, offers a summary printed in the sheet music of No Nos Moverán. Originally from the African American spiritual tradition, it was in the 1930s of No Nos Moverán, We Shall Not Be Moved. Both became rallying cries for solidarity in U.S. labor and civil rights movements, often deployed by singers arm in arm in the face of repression. No Nos Moverán would go on to become an important part of the Chicano movement of the 1960s, as well as the social justice and revolutionary movements across Spain and Latin America. It is sung throughout the Spanish-speaking world in this version. It's the one I grew up with. No Nos Moverán was chosen as a level 1 piece for its accessible melody and basic functional harmony. In the Justice Choir songbook, sheet music was written as a lead sheet with melody and chord symbols. This provides pedagogical opportunities for student-led ensembles, allowing students to act as conductor, accompanists on instruments of their choice, and as ensemble members. The bright, clear timbre of this piece required communicates an uplifting and empowering energy to fight against injustice and oppression. In addition, further socio-historical analysis of the Chicano movement and civil rights movements with students will provide ample opportunity for students to generate their own effective connections to the concepts of bullying, recognizing inequities surrounding them, and learning how to be an advocate. De Colores is a traditional folk song sung throughout Latin America with an uplifting message of peace and hope, symbols both of the Cursillo movement and of traditional Mexican heritage. The song became closely identified with the United Farm Workers Union in the 1960s, led by Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huertes, and was a well-known song for both historic and religious reasons. Though the text of De Colores is not directly speaking about social justice, its visions of springtime and vibrancy of life provide ideal imagery for protesters of a better future. When originally collecting pieces for this analysis project, I had originally chosen to analyze choral arrangement by Francisco J. Nunez. But during my time student teaching this semester, I came across this arrangement by Sonia Foreman that I believe to be more accessible tessitura for changing adolescent voices, and that stayed true to the original melody. Labeling this piece as a level 2, De Colores provided an introduction to dotted quarter notes, changing keys in a piece, and for implementing a notated two-part vocal harmony into a group. With this arrangement, due to lack of notation of expressive qualities, students will be able to generate artistic decisions for this choral work. El Pueblo Unido is one of the most internationally renowned songs of the Nueva Canción Chilena movement. The music of the song was composed by Sergio Ortega and the text written by the band Quipaleon. The song was initially composed as an anthem for the popular unity government, reflecting the spirit behind the mass mobilization of working class people who in 1970 had elected Salvador Allende for the socialist transformation of Chile. During Allende's campaign, El Pueblo Unido jamás será vencido was a frequent slogan. The song has been used in various protests around the world against either left or right-wing dictatorships, most of which have no direct connection to Chilean politics or Latin America. The song has been adapted and translated into many languages. Jean Glickman's SATB arrangement of El Pueblo Unido is categorized as a level 3 due to singing in G-sharp harmonic minor in verse-refrain form, a cappella with marching 6/8 rhythmic drive and dramatic dynamic contrasts to build expressive drive throughout the piece. The piece provides students opportunity for socio-historical research of the Nueva Canción movements existing throughout Latin America, as well as student-led musical analysis with potential group discussion or journal entry, prompting students with the question, why does this piece use 4-part harmony when this piece discusses unity and togetherness? In addition to this, providing musical opportunities for students to develop their own verse-refrain form social justice songs in small groups. In the final piece, Ayúdame, composer Carlos Cordero speaks on the food shortages in his country, Venezuela. He states, "When was the last time you were hungry and you could not immediately eat? Or thirsty and could not find water for hours? This is heartbreaking. To see my country, my family, suffering. I come from Venezuela and I did go through difficult times. Since I could not do much from where I was to help, I decided to fight my pain. I asked myself all the questions and cried while working on my desk, so comfortable, yet feeling so guilty and helpless. When was the last time you were sick and could not find the medicine to feel better or even to keep living? According to the article, Hunger and Desperation, Venezuela's Huge Displacement Crisis, Catherine Ellis states, with 95% of Venezuelans living in extreme poverty, every day hundreds are forced to walk to neighboring Colombia in search of work. Venezuela, once the richest country in South America and with the largest oil reserves in the world, is now facing an acute economic and humanitarian crisis that has been decades in the making. Hunger is one of the main reasons people leave Venezuela. Ayuda May categorized as a level 4 piece. Cordero uses the set of pitches G, A, B flat, C, D, E flat, and F sparingly in consonant stepwise motion. Utilizing a natural G minor scale, there is an intentional lack of leading tone. This could depict Venezuelan citizens drawing upon their limited resources. Cordero intentionally avoids any dominant sonorities and tonic resolutions for this piece to be harmonically aimless. This is to portray the feeling of citizens feeling trapped in their homeland. There is a hollowness and exposure in the timbre of this piece due to the lack of piano accompaniment and Cordero utilizing percussion as an added voice. A potential journal entry or group discussion could be a character analysis of the percussion part. It creates a sense of urgency and communicates action in conjunction with the other voice parts. Cordero makes note that ensembles can use bass drum, bells, or other percussion. This once again draws upon the idea of citizens utilizing their limited resources. The assessment I crafted to work in conjunction with this piece is a research project on the topic of social justice and equity within our communities. What can we change? Where could we have influence? What's happening around us? What social justice work still needs to be done? In conclusion, the purpose of this teacher resource guide is to serve the Latinx community within the choral classroom. This guide investigated the significance of culturally relevant pedagogy through frameworks by Hammond and Ladson Billings, chose pieces that explore Latinx context through a social justice lens, and provided socio-historical, musical, and pedagogical analyses of each piece. Ultimately, the intention of this guide is to provide meaningful and impactful musical experiences through the CMP unit plans from Shaping Sound Musicians by Patricia O'Toole. This research wishes to uplift Latinx students by highlighting pieces that validate the Latinx experience and that hopefully inspires social change from within a choral learning setting and beyond. And here are my citations.
mirar aos ojos meus soprando. Ai, vem matar esta paixão que anda comigo. Ai, porque neste silenciou vem maranja. Essa amargura do meu batom vem maranja. Do meu luar a tua compaixão. Oh, vem por Deus iluminar teu coração. E quantas vezes l'anuncio me aprencias, abriarandoci calma e consolata, a sua luz